All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Integrity Racing Show. Tonight, I will be your host as Todd is recovering from the effects of Irma and all that is hurricanes and down trees and power outages. So thank you for joining us tonight. We have quite the crew with us as we'll be discussing Richmond, and we'll have kind of a roundtable discussion of the chases coming up. The next 10 weeks are going to be quite the battle to see who comes out on top. And we have a few guests with us tonight to discuss those. So with us, we have Adam DeBlasio. We have Lance Jennels, who was able to make it in the chase, the last guy in. James Hudson is here. And rounding out our crew is Michael Dewell. So like I said, what we'll be doing throughout the night is just basically we'll go over Richmond and tell you what happened there. We'll get everybody's take, as I believe everybody but Hudson raced there last night. And see what everybody thought of the race, and then we'll kind of dig into who made the chase, as maybe not everybody saw the chase grid yet, but we'll kind of break down each driver for a quick minute, and then we'll get into the challenger round, which is the first round of the chase series, the first three races, and kind of break that down, and then we'll obviously at the end of the night we'll make some chase predictions and see who might take it home and win it all. So let's jump right into it. And we'll go ahead and look at the results from last night here at Richmond, which is where we're at. Hopefully everybody can see it. It's been a while since I've had to do this, so you forgive me. But Caleb Eisenhower was able to take the win last night at Richmond. He had a pretty much, I would say, a pretty dominant performance. And coming home in second was Andrew Fyfe, who was able, I'm doing that right. I'm trying to make it bigger. There we go. All right. Andrew Fyfe was able to come home in second place. They were basically the top two drivers for most of the night. Cody Smith had a really strong run through the last half of the race. I think played some pit strategy at one point to bring it home in a third position. Nick Ward was able to come home fourth. And then rounding out the top five was Greg Trego, who had, I believe, is his best finish in the Integrity Racing League, as he is a rookie this year. So why don't we go around real quick? I'll kind of highlight each of you and just tell us how your race went. We'll go ahead and start with Lance, since you had a little bit of a easier time than you probably expected with, trying to make it in for the chase. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that and then how your race went?
Well, to be quite honest, I mean, it wouldn't have happened if a few people hadn't have dropped out due to prior obligations or other extenuating circumstances. But I'm stupid happy to be here. I made it the first year I was in Integrity and missed it last year as well as half the season. I'm just happy to be back in it. I'll probably be out in the first couple of weeks, but who knows? Race at Richmond went shockingly well for me. Normally I don't perform well on the short tracks, but last night I put together a decent run and surprised myself by outrunning our favorite little introvert DeBlasio, Eric or Adam.
Somebody should have to drink to that because we messed up the name. So since you had a nice lead, and then Adam, why don't you tell us about your race last night and what you had to deal with and what gave you the finish you did?
I probably had the worst nights of my racing Integrity career without wrecking, because I could not figure out that track to save my life. I was stuck around 8th all night and couldn't move up any more than that. A couple people took 2 tires, which they held on to their track position very well. I decided to go to the end without pitting again, which I think was the correct call for me, at least. But other people I saw were trying to steal a win with that. But other than that, I ended up finishing 12th, and I had one goal this regular season, and it's to win the regular season championship over Fyfe, and I succeeded in doing that, which I'm very excited and glad to do.
All right. Well, good deal. Like I said, you had a solid top 10 run. Both of you actually had a solid top 10 run. Hudson did not run last night. He was scared he might get suspended for next week's race, so he played it safe. But Dewell had a very nice run. I know you and I battled a little bit there at the early part, probably from lap 40 on through about the first half of the race. Tell us how your race went, and what do you thought about Richmond?
Richmond wasn't bad. I knew the guys. There was a couple of guys that would show up. I'd be screwed on a top 5 at least. And actually, half the field that didn't show up kind of worked out in my favor in the beginning there. I got a pretty good qualifying spot. And then towards the first part of the race, I was actually really surprised that we didn't get a lot of cautions really early on with the crowd. I mean, we're all used to the early cautions. So then that first couple of cautions come out, and I saw you take your 2 tires, and so that gave me some ideas. And I saw how you were kind of able to maintain your track position. Mm-hmm. So I was like, so that next caution came out. I said, well, hell, it worked for Fyfe. So I took 2 tires, and then I actually stayed out the caution after that to take the lead and lead some laps. And it was going all right. I let Caleb by to take the lead. Obviously, I had new tires, and the guy was just wicked fast. I had nothing for Caleb. I was kind of settling into second or third, and then Andrew came up behind me, and I was kind of racing him a little bit, and we got into 3 there, and I think he didn't realize I was on older 2 tires. So we made some contact, which if you haven't seen the broadcast from last night, hell of a save that I had there. So that sent me from 3rd to 18th. And then, unfortunately for me, there were no more cautions. So I just ran around the rest of the night, and I think I ended up finishing 13th or something. So it's not a bad points night per se. Being already locked into the chase, I had nothing to lose anyway. Just there to have fun. It was kind of nice to race with Fyfe there for a side-by-side like the old days, rubbing and beating on each other, not perverted like. But other than that, it was real fun. Had a good time. It was a good race.
Yeah, I know. To kind of add to that a little bit, the 2 tire strategy call I made actually worked a lot better than I thought it would. It was probably the best my car had felt through the entirety of the night, and I ended up taking tires with 40 to go. And even then, the 2 tires would have still felt better than taking the 4. For whatever reason, it's just way too tight for me. But I enjoyed the last 40 laps, kind of trying to shoot my way back through the field, and basically came out where I left off. But yeah, overall, it was a decent run for me. I ended up in 6th. Enjoyed kind of venturing back and forth with the dynamic track seemingly quote unquote fixed, even though for us it's been pretty much that way the whole season. But yeah, like I said, it was a pretty decent race. I know I liked seeing the long green flag run at the end. I think the last 80 laps or so were green flag, and that was really nice to see. But so that's basically a recap of Richmond. Once again, congratulations to Caleb on grabbing the win for that. That gives him win number 3 for the season, which leads into the chase stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. And we'll show the chase grid in here a little bit. But what we're going to do is what we want to do is go ahead and thank some of our sponsors, some of which you don't even know about yet. And I'll let one of them is in the room, so I'll let him talk about that real quick, and then we'll kind of get into the guys who made the chase. But basically, we have 3 different sponsors who sponsored us during the year. Some of them were more colorful than others, but so we want to give thanks to Joseph Yakes, who's supposed to sponsor us at Richmond, actually, but obviously, as I agree with them, Yakes would want to actually be in the race he sponsored. He's supposed to sponsor Richmond, so we changed it up a little bit for him. He sponsored the first Richmond race in Pocono, and now he will be sponsoring the last race of the season at Homestead. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll do a cool little promotion with him later in the season. Then obviously the fun races that we enjoyed, especially at Sonoma, with Alan Rolls nice enough to sponsor the 2 road course races in his Institute of learning and spelling or whatever stupid name I came up with.
Yeah.
So that was fun, and I do appreciate Alan for sponsoring. And then the unannounced sponsorship that we have come up that I've known about for quite a while now is Lance Jennings is sponsoring 3 races within the Chase. This coordinates in with his charitable online gaming that he'll be doing within that time period. It's either right before or during, if I remember correctly. But he'll be sponsoring Talladega, Kansas, and Martinsville. And Lance, why don't you go ahead and talk to us a little bit about that? Obviously, we're going to have you back on the show here later in the year to talk about it a little bit more in depth. But since we're thanking our sponsors, I didn't want to leave you out either. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Extra Life and what it's about, and then we'll move on to the Chase drivers.
So Extra Life is an annual charity that runs on, I think it's the first Saturday in November. I need to check my calendar again this year, but all of the money raised through donations is donated directly to, in my case, Sanford Children's Hospital in Fargo, North Dakota. We raise across the country. Extra Life raises millions of dollars every year for kids that are suffering with various forms of childhood cancer. And we have a 24-hour gaming marathon that we do. We solicit donations from people we know and don't know in some cases. And it's a really nice charity. Last year we built, with the funds raised for Sanford, we built the cancer ward, a new game room. Stocked with PlayStations, Xboxes, and I think a couple of computers, so that the kids can, take their mind off their treatment for a little bit and just be normal kids for a day.
That's awesome. So like I said, that'll be coming up late October, early November is when the sponsored races come up, and we'll definitely be pushing that. If you have the opportunity, obviously with all the, hurricanes and stuff like that, there's a lot of things to support, but this is obviously a very worthy cause, and hopefully if you have the money available, get with Lance or go to the website, which I believe is on the shared post, and I'm sure Lance will share it with you as well, and donate when the 24-hour gaming starts, like I said, hopefully in the beginning of November. So thank you, Lance. All right, well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our Chase grid. I want to give thanks to Adam before we get started. He was nice enough to, get all this together as he did last year. Some of you were a little naughty and didn't put your pictures in. So if you didn't put your picture in, you got a big blank white space, Hudson.
Slacker.
Yeah, slacker, I tell you what. But we'll go ahead and go through the Chase grid here, and we'll kind of talk about each driver a little bit, and then we'll work our way through and see what we have to look at from there. So let's go ahead and get started with that. And the first driver, obviously with 3 wins on the season and winning last night at Richmond, Caleb Eisenhower is going to be their #1 seed with 2,009 points. Driver, the number 51 from Henderson, Texas. Apparently Adam has got all this information that I don't bother to look up. But
probably don't want to know where he got his info from either.
I'm assuming Facebook, because that's Facebook. We'll go with that. But with only 21 starts, he was able to win 3 races, 9 top 5s and 10 top 10s. So why don't we start with Dewell? Why don't you tell us what you think about Caleb and how you think his season's gone so far, and we'll kind of go down the list.
Well, Caleb's if it wasn't for what's the easiest way to put this? If it weren't for Busa and Fayash, all the really pro guys per se, I think Caleb's win count will be way up there. Caleb's a fast guy. He's going to be hard to beat. I think, honestly, just looking at the Chase, there's probably a list of a couple, 3 to 4 drivers that are in contention with Caleb, not even counting myself, that may have a shot at a championship this year. He's obviously #1 seed. He's going to be tough to beat. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. All All right, our next driver, I won't make him talk about himself, but our next driver on the chase grid is Adam DeBlasio with 1 win at Daytona with 26 starts. Adam is from Rutland, Vermont with 9 top 5s and 15 top 10s. He is our regular season champion, which congratulations on that, and he'll be getting a monetary prize for that. But Lance, why don't you talk a little bit about Adam and maybe embarrass him a little bit while he's on here, since he's on here.
Yeah, please do. Please do, by the way.
And just kind of go over how his season's been so far.
Adam's season has been nothing short of amazing. Starting out at Daytona with the win there, which unfortunately I missed that race. But it's been amazing to watch him just throttle the field most weeks with fields full of pro drivers and all this amazing talent that we have in our league. I'm honestly astonished that he doesn't have more wins, and I think if we didn't have the black stripers around, he would have more wins. It's very rare to come across somebody with the level of natural talent that Adam seems to have. But yeah, I'm in awe of him. I wish I could perform that well.
All right, and obviously, Adam has moved up in the world and has and you see, I probably already have mine up there because I was trying to get ahead. But Adam has a new computer, so he still has the same chair. I can see. I'm looking at his.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah, the same beach chair apparently made the cut, but I believe he has a new computer and stuff. So I think that's helped from the laptop that poor Eric has been passed on to, and now he has to struggle to race on. And but no, you have improved this season, so definitely congratulations once again on the regular season championship. If you haven't noticed, while I've been rambling on, the next driver.
Here, I'll do that one. You don't want to talk about yourself here.
No, I'm not.
I didn't know he was going to jump on that one.
I was trying to pick which one of you did I want to suffer the consequences of having you talk about me.
So the third number 3 seed in the 2017 chase out of Quinton, Virginia, which I don't know where Adam got that information from, is the number 36 RB Chevrolet, Integrity Racing's own Jacob Fyfe. Raced all season long, got him one lucky ass little win at Daytona.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. Got some good top. Yeah, whatever, you know. Bastard. Had a pretty good season. Pretty good season there going on. Finished third in the regular standings there. So, hey, Adam, so you and Jacob are kind of talking daily about league stuff, and you're doing stuff for the league and spreadsheet boys and standings together. Why don't you tell us why you think Jacob maybe might be a contention for the league championship this year?
Well,
what a pass off.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Don't use all your words at once, Adam.
No,
all right, well, thanks for talking.
I was muted for a second. Jacob Fyfe is definitely definite contender for the championship. Other than Caleb Eisenhower, he is one of the few drivers who is consistently have to battle up in the front. And the last few weeks, I can think of Darlington especially. He's just gone. He was racing me really hard, and it was clean, and it was awesome. So he'll definitely be a tough one to crack in the chase.
All right, well, thank you there, Adam. I
Well, there you go, Jacob. There's your lead.
There we go. Yeah. So our next driver, and
Wrong screen, fool.
wrong screen.
No,
There we go.
man.
I was looking at other stuff. All right, our next driver in the chase is going to be Guillermo Alvarez, who's from Mexico, and I won't attempt to pronounce his city where he's from. But Guillermo's got 24 starts this season, and with those 24 starts, he has 1 win, 2 top 5s, and 11 top 10s. And Hudson, why don't you go ahead and give us a little synopsis on what you think about Guillermo's season? As usual, he's rather consistent, and it has the ability to turn on the speed when he needs to. So give a little synopsis on his season, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. You pretty much kind of summed it up for him. He kind of he's very good about kind of rolling towards the back, and at the last second, he's up there in the top 10, kind of lets everybody else make the mistakes and drives consistent. I know he does it in the truck series too. He's always not necessarily there during the whole race, but at the end, when it counts, he's always at least in the top 10. I really think that's why he's as far up in the points as he is now. I love racing around him. He's one of the cleanest and best drivers to race around in our whole league. But I do think that he is going to go far into the chase too. Like I said, he's always there at the end. That's just the best way to describe him, is at the end he is there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good synopsis on that. Obviously, our next driver in the chase is going to be Eric DeBlasio, also from Rutland, Vermont. With 25 starts on the season, he had his one win at Bristol a few weeks ago. With 6 top 5s and 12 top 10s, he is our number 5 seed. Adam, why don't you give a little brotherly love and let us know maybe a little bit more about Eric, and what do you think his chances are for the chase?
As far as Eric goes, I think he'll be the sleeper pick of everyone's chase brackets this season. His specialty is those short tracks that are flat, or in any track really that is flat. He's really good at those, but he's definitely improved a lot, which is kind of scary, because if we get him a new computer for Christmas, he may be faster than me, which is not a good thing, because
Jesus.
I want to be the fastest DeBlasio in the Integrity Racing League. But it'd be pretty awesome to have both of us in the Final Four come Homestead.
Come on now, Adam. You're supposed to share your talents equally. You're not supposed to hog all the good computer and make your brother suffer with, what did he say it was? Like 25 frames, 30 frames or something like that?
Mario
something
Kart.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Allen roll range frames. We'll put it that way.
Me back on my
I had to
laptop
deal with
at
the
his
same
range.
thing.
Yeah.
I dealt with the same thing. He got on iRacing a year later than me, so he's just a year behind me.
All right, our next driver, I don't know who this guy is, but it's going to be our number 6 seed. It's going to be Michael Dewell from Ponca City, Oklahoma. With 24 starts, his one win was at Fontana, and we won't say how he got it. He has 3 top 5s on the season and 5 top 10s, and is, like I said, our number 6 seed. I won't let Dewell talk about himself because we'll be here all night. But why don't we get Lance to give us a little synopsis on how Dewell's season has gone, and what do you think his chase chances will be?
I think he's out in the first round. No, honestly, Dewell
Without
is fast.
hesitation.
Yeah,
Oh,
without
man,
any hesitation.
Look, you crashed my camera too. Holy shit.
That's why I'm here, to tear things up.
Oh my God.
Now, honestly, I see Dewell going pretty deep into the chase, as he goes deep often, as evidenced by the kids running around his house.
I like where this is going, sir.
Yeah, it's going dark
I
quick.
was wondering when we found it. Okay, there we go.
And
Well,
so it begins.
yes.
Don't forget our bid conversation.
Despite his incredibly large mouth and ego, Dewell can actually back it up on the track. So that's rare for somebody with that level of smart assitude.
We've created new
Oh,
words
wow.
now. Smart assitude. I like it.
That's all I got.
Yes,
I'm
that's
getting
okay.
that
That's
tattooed
good.
on my
I'll take
lower
it.
back, by the way.
I'll take it. All right. Our next driver on the list is Todd Thomas from Macon, Georgia, with 20 starts on the season and 1 win, even though it looks like Todd or Adam has him having 3. But I believe he won Michigan out of those. He has 2 top 5s and 9 top 10s, and Adam tries desperately to some in-show editing. But Todd, I'll take a crack at Todd. Todd is obviously a very good driver and does a great job. I'll turn the screen share off here. As much as he complains about sucking at every track he seems to go to almost on a weekly basis. He's a very talented driver and can make it very far within the chase with if things go his way, which I think that's for every driver, regardless of how much talent you may or may not have. So everybody needs breaks to fall certain ways. I know I've needed that the past 2 years to make it to the final round. But Todd definitely has the speed to do it, and he can be consistent enough to basically make his way into each round. And I look forward, as I believe he was a 7th seed there, for him to make it pretty far and give everybody a run for their money. So hopefully the big thing with Todd is that he gets his power back before next Monday night and can race with us in Chicago to take a crack at that championship. So our next driver on
Real quickly, it was Kansas that he won at.
So none of them were right then. Okay.
Yeah, copy and pasting the same slides 15 times. It just got to me.
We'll forgive you this once, Adam.
Yeah, you're failing.
You're fired.
Much more than that. Then I don't know if we can. If I don't think we can tolerate that. Our next driver, number 8 seed on the list here is going to be Jay Heishman from Elkton, Maryland. He has 26 starts on the season. While he does not have any wins or top 5s, he does have 3 top 10s and is currently number 5 on the standings. Also, he is one of the top runners for the Cleanest Driver Award. And fun fact, he is the driver with the most laps run at this point during the season. I was talking with him a couple weeks ago when I was up there in town, and that's his goal for this season, or one of his goals. I'm sure he has others as well, to finish as high as he can. But his goal for this season is run as many laps or run the most laps during the course of the season. So as former teammates, Dewell, why don't you go ahead and talk about Jay here and kind of give us a glimpse of Jay's chase chances.
Jay is a different breed. Jay is the epitome of what happens if you just keep racing and don't worry about anything else. Like, I don't even think he races half the time. Like, he just drives around. So that's why you hear us joking about the Heishman way. And here's a perfect example of it. By not worrying about winning or driving hard. Not only is he winning so far in the Cleanest Driver Awards, not only is he pretty much leading in the most laps drove or whatever this year, but he's chase qualified just by riding around. So the guys that are watching that, maybe don't think this league is for them, Jay is an example of one of those guys that, at first he didn't want to do league things, but now that he's here, he's been in the chase. And as long as he can last at least, a round or two, he's got a good shot at least finishing top 5. And by the way, he made this shirt, which I want to point out, said roll for MPD. That's been changed. Thank you, Jay, for that.
That's what I was kind of giving you the lead in for that, considering he's the one that made the shirt and the hat. Don't forget the hat you're wearing right now, in case people don't know.
Yeah, the hat.
Bend over,
yeah. Ask me one of these days. I won't do it now, but ask me the story about the hat. We'll get all into that later.
All right. Our number 9 seed in the chase is going to be Joshua Campbell from One Up Motorsports out of York, Pennsylvania. Joshua has 25 starts, no wins on the season, but he does have 1 top 5 and 5 top 10s. His current standing is 7th in the points. He's been very consistent. Basically, I would say along the same lines as maybe a Jay, or in that general range, maybe a little bit faster. But you've done a great job this season. Kept the car clean. And why don't we get Adam to go ahead and talk about Joshua's season and what do you think his chances are going into the chase?
Yeah, from what I see, Josh is a driver that is more aggressive than Jay. He likes to race more, and I haven't raced with him much, but he does keep his car very clean. He's at the end of most races, which will make him a threat in the chase, because in 3 race segments, all you gotta do is basically finish top 7 on average each race and in each segment to move on, and Joshua is definitely capable of doing that.
All right, good deal there, Adam. Thank you for that. And moving on, our number 10 seed is Cody Smith from Lebanon, Ohio, with 24 starts and 0 wins. Cody has 3 top 5s and 10 top 10s in current ranking, is 8th in the championship standings. Now, I'll take Cody. I think a good example would actually be last night. Cody has the potential to run really well at particular racetracks. I've seen him come just short. I think Kentucky would be another good example of coming just short and getting a win. I think he's a driver that's knocking on the door, and it's my sleeper pick to make it to the final round this season. I think he has the speed and consistency mixed together to be able to get past the first couple rounds, and then kind of like Todd, if you catch the right break, can make it in the final round and give a chance. The goal is if you get to the final round, everything's up in the air. Anything can happen, and you have a solid chance of making it. So Cody is our number 10 seed, and like I said, I think he has a really good chance of making it all the way, at least in my opinion anyway. So our next driver up on the chase.
Let me just say, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Let me just say on Cody, too. Cody's kind of my sleeper pick, too. He's fast. Every week, if you look up at the top 5, he's right around there. And I think if some things maybe go his way, he'll be racing at Homestead for a championship.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Our 11 seed in the chase is William Dunn, who really falls just in line with Cody as well, in my opinion. A teammate of mine from the Integrity Racing team. William is from St. Louis, Missouri. He has 22 starts on the season, 0 wins, but is knocking on the door. 4 top 5s and 8 top 10s. Why don't we get Lance to go ahead and talk about William there and kind of how his season's gone, and what do you think?
I think Bill is one of those guys that he's all or nothing. It's every week he's either really good and running up front, or he's running in the back with me. So it's been a interesting season watching Bill with his ups and downs. I know we're all over each other in the truck series. I fought with him several races, but here I think I look for Bill to go pretty deep into the chase. I'd like to say that I expect to see him at Homestead, but I don't know. I think there's more talent that's going to wind up there than Bill. Nothing disparaging about it, but I think he's really good, but I don't think he's that bright, shining star that you need to be to make it all the way to Homestead.
All right, our next driver, seed number 12, is going to be Trevor Trego out of Bear, Delaware, just down the road from Jay and Chris. With 23 starts in the season, he has 0 wins, 1 top 5, and 3 top 10s, and came in 12th in the overall standings there. Hudson, Adam, why don't you go ahead and take Trego there and tell us what you think about his season so far.
I've talked to Trego a lot. A lot of you probably know him as Greg Trego in the sim because he's too lazy to get his name changed on iRacing because that is his dad's name, and his dad had the account. But he wants to definitely go for the Clean Driver Award. That's his main goal. But he was very excited to make the chase this year. You said that 5th place was his best IRL finish. It is indeed his best IRL finish. His previous one was 8th at Texas Motor Speedway earlier this year. And I will say this. I don't know where he came from last night at Richmond, but he ended up passing me and passing a lot of other fast guys. And he said to me during the race, "Wow, that doesn't happen that often." Or this is the first time I passed you. And I felt like he, if things go well, he can definitely move multiple rounds in the chase. And he's a lot like Jay Heichman, and he likes to stay in the back, avoid the incidents, and then capitalize on other people's misfortunes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will preface. I should say that it's Trego's best finish in the Cup Series. He does have a win in the Truck Series this season, and that's how he's propelled himself into the Truck Championship, which will be continuing on next week at Vegas. But we'll talk about that at the end of the show. Next up on our list there is seed number 13, which is the one and only Mr. James Hudson. James has 23 starts in the season, 0 wins, but he has 2 top 5s and 8 top 10 finishes. Hudson, why don't you tell us about your season, how you think it's been going so far, and what you're hoping to do as we get into the chase races here.
Oh, you're going to make it awkward and make me talk about myself.
I'm just thinking.
That you wanted to talk. I mean, yeah.
No, well, I mean, I guess I've had an up and down season, about like normal. It's kind of how my seasons usually go. I do wish I was a little better, but obviously that doesn't actually show. I'd like to say I'm going to make it to the round before Homestead. That's kind of my goal for the chase, is to get one more round further than I did last year. I got a lot of tracks in the chase that I actually enjoy, and I think I can run pretty decent at. So hopefully I can string together some good finishes and at least get that far. I'd love to run at Homestead, and maybe if a little luck falls my way, I can make it.
Good deal. All right. Our next driver on the list is going to be Alan Pajari, also from One Up Motorsports. He's going to be our number 14 seed from, well, I don't think he's from Edna, Minnesota anymore. I believe during the season he moved to Texas. But with 22, Adam's currently going through Facebook right now trying to find where he's actually
about to
from
chime in already. Look at him.
Yeah. He's
well, it's hometown, not current city.
I see. Oh, okay. Now
Jacob.
processing things. Okay, yeah.
Or it's whatever I found on Facebook.
Put parentheses around it now. Okay, I see.
Where's the asterisk?
All right. So Pajari is probably from Minnesota, but now lives in Texas. He has 22 starts on the season, 0 wins, 1 top 5, and 6 top 10s. As our 15th place finisher in points, he is our number 14 seed. And Lance, why don't you talk about him and his championship chances?
I've actually had the good fortune to meet Alan Pajari in real life. We sat down and had dinner together while I was in Minnesota last year, and man, he's a prince of a dude. I met Alan in the NASCAR iRacing series, racing at Daytona, where we drafted together and nearly stole a win. Man, he's like I said, he's just a prince of a guy, and I love racing with him because you couldn't ask for a cleaner driver. I think if I had to have a sleeper pick, it would be Alan, just because he is so consistent and so clean. He tends to survive races and make it through situations that other people just would not.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I think it's a very good assessment there, Lance. All right, our next driver is going to be Nick Trebuch, however you want to. I know how to pronounce it, but we jokingly call him Trebuch. Nick is from Baltimore, Maryland, and with 23 starts in the season, he has 0 wins, 2 top 5s, and 4 top 10s. Hudson, why don't you kind of go over Nick's season and kind of tell us what you think about his chase chances?
Nick's another one of those ones I love racing around. I really enjoyed having him come on to this to our league. Every time we get around each other, it's clean, but it's really aggressive, fun. Battling. It almost seems like we're always right around each other a lot. I think he's really got the potential to go. I'm not going to say he's going to go all the way, but I think he'll be at least in the round before that. God, like I said, I love racing around him. He's so much fun to race around. I do think he deserves to be here, and I'd love to see him go all the way. I really do. I have a lot of respect for him and the way he races. And plus, he's a fellow LS Nation guy. Just saying. But hopefully, he's had a hell of a season. Especially, I think this is his rookie season. So it's good to see him in the chase.
Yeah, definitely. All right, our last driver in the chase grid is going to be the one and only Lance Jennings. He is from Williston, North Dakota, or so does DeBlasio's information guide says. With 22 starts and 0 wins, Lance has 1 top 5 and 4 top 10s on the season. And since I believe turnabout is fair play, Dewell, why don't you give us an assessment of Lance's chances in the chase and how you think his season has gone to this point?
I think Lance has dog meat at Chicagoland, apparently. Well, if things go my way, he'll be wrecked by Chicagoland, and he'll be rebuilding my Minecraft world shortly after. Now, Lance is the funny thing about Lance, you meet guys on iRacing. This is totally not league related. You meet guys on iRacing who you kind of get along with. Me and Fyfe, for instance, we kind of get along.
Yeah.
And then you meet guys who you would probably let sleep with your wife, and I think Lance is one of those guys. He's
Evan, are you watching now?
What's your address?
Back there?
Yeah. Well, apparently it's Ponca City. No, I like Lance. Lance is he's a hell of a driver. He's very courteous when he wants to be, similar to most of the league members here. I don't, if it weren't for this year, I don't think I would have enjoyed myself as much if Lance hadn't been around. Between him and me and Chris, if you guys ever watch my streams, you guys know all the crap that we talk about all the time. It's not even 90% racing. It's usually about my wife or his wife or boobs or whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So a lot of
Alan's mom.
Yeah.
A lot of Alan's mom. But yeah, as far as the chase goes, I think there's a couple of drivers in the chase that Lance could probably beat without any luck. I think he makes it to probably top 6-ish, sixth or seventh, somewhere in that range. He's like me. I don't think we're going to make it to Homestead, but I think me and him are going to be fighting it out to the end there. So he's right around there and probably top 5.
All right. Well,
Tell your wife I'll be over later.
Yeah, she already knows. She got your text.
Jesus. All right. So that wraps up your chase grid. Went ahead and put up the screen of what the points will look like once they're updated, and I actually do my job on Dan Lisa. But this gives you an overview of from 1st to 16th. There's only a 9-point difference between first and quote-unquote last in the chase, and then second to last in the chase is only 3-point difference. So it really is anybody's game going into Chicagoland, which will be the first race of the chase. And we'll kind of turn our attention to the first 3 races, which will be Chicagoland, New Hampshire, and Dover. We'll kind of take those and look over them one at a time. So I'll just kind of open the floor to you guys. What are your thoughts on Chicagoland, and what do you think your chances are there starting out the chase races?
Go ahead, Adam. You got your cue. You got your mic already. Go ahead.
I figured Dewell was going to speak up first.
I'm waiting on Adam. He's already unmuted. So.
Okay, I'll go first then. It's a 1.5-mile racetrack. I think Chicagoland was my second career ever IRL start, so this will be my third ever IRL start at Chicagoland. But as for the league goes, this was also the first race on iRacing that featured the dynamic tracks when it first came out, and the Highline did come into play quite a bit a year ago. But with everyone testing and iRacing figuring out what the actual problem was, I think in both NIS and IRL, cars will be all over the place running multi-grooves, and that should probably put on a very good race for all those who enter it.
Yeah, well, let me just say, I could give a good god dang about everybody else at Chicagoland. I'm Chicago. Okay, so last year I had really had a horrible first round. I would think I was eliminated, if not by the second round. Chicagoland, I didn't finish top 15. So my goal this year is going to be a little different. I'm probably not going to push it as much. I'm going to let the idiots work themselves out. we'll see how it goes. Chase round, that's probably the better of the three in that particular round. Dover, I'm okay at. I can run it. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same wing there. This is the scariest of the rounds for me. Not a single track in this segment do I like, and do I show any kind of talent at. I'm just kind of hoping to, like Dewell said, kind of fade off to the back and kind of do the Heisman way and let everybody else wreck out and hopefully get back up to the top 10 somewhere by the end of the race.
Okay, Lance, you have anything you want to add?
Well, I'm not going to say I like any of these tracks because every time I say that I like one, I wound up getting my taters mashed in like lap 3. But there's one of these tracks that I have pretty good hopes for, and one more that I'm okay at. But Loudon is garbage. I hate Loudon. Burn it down. Thank you.
I agree with that.
You shut your mouth. This is going to be the last time you'll ever have to deal with Loudon in the chase, ever.
Thank God.
Yeah, no joke.
And when that happened, we all planned a trip to Vegas next year. So that's
right. Yeah.
how that went. Yeah.
We could throw.
Of course, NASCAR wants to get another cookie cutter and get rid of a unique short track. But it's what the fans want, I guess.
Bulldoze it into the earth.
I just wanted to Yes.
I will find where you live.
Speaking of Loudon, we'll transition. I see Adam's a little feisty over there in the corner, but we will be going to New Hampshire, whether Lance likes it or not, which is a 1 mile flat oval. We were there a few weeks ago in the Truck Series, and it proved for some interesting racing. We were battling to get to end in the first round of that chase at Loudon. And it was definitely some intense racing, but fun. It was fun racing in the trucks. Maybe not for Lance; he was kind of wrecked. But for some of us, it was fun. But quickly, give us your thoughts about New Hampshire, and just a real quick synopsis. I'll get a couple of you to do it, and then we'll move on to Dover.
Burn in hell. That's what it can do. That's exactly what the track can do.
That's James and Lance. I've got that covered. Dewell?
Burn in hell, make it a swimming pool.
Adam, help me out.
All right. So last time we went here, it was the Fayash, Rattler, and Chalmers show. They pulled away by about 6 seconds, but the second group of us was Caleb, Eric, and myself battling, and Fyfe was up there too. So depending on how many black stripers show up, I think it could be a very awesome race between Eric, myself, Fyfe, and Caleb for the win. And it's an awesome track.
I do think Loudon will prove to be what I would think to be the pivotal race of the Chase Series, or at least for the first round anyway. The other two tracks really, are pretty, I don't want to say ho-hum because Dover's not, but I think New Hampshire will prove to have the most carnage, if you will, and the biggest swing, I'll put it that way, the biggest swing in points for each of these three races. So it'll be pivotal for the guys who maybe are close to the cut line going into New Hampshire to find a way to kind of stay out of trouble or kind of improve themselves or get a cushion before we hit to Dover. And I think guys will be looking to do that most importantly. But we'll go ahead and move on real quick to Dover. And Dover is also 1 mile track, the high banks. Why don't I get a couple guys to kind of talk about Dover? That's going to be the final round of the Challenger round. And 4 guys will be cut from the chase there before we move on to the next round. So Hudson, why don't you go ahead and take a quick little talk about Dover, and we'll kind of jump around from there.
Oh, Dover.
You want to make that a swimming pool too?
No, I'm not. Yeah, it's one of those on the fences for me personally, but I do think it is one of the funner tracks on the series. It's tight. It's kind of it's really just a bigger Bristol. And I think that's the best way to describe it. And it's still enough action to make it fun, but it's opened up enough to where you're not running all over each other every lap. But like you said, it's the last race in that little segment, and it's I think it's the perfect place to end that first segment, just because of how challenging and how aggressive you can race that track.
Okay, and Lance, why don't you tell us a little bit about Dover? What do you think your chances are there? I know you're hiding your chances superstitiously, but maybe I'll put you on the spot a little bit.
I like Dover until I get loose right at the end and destroy my car. But that seems to be the way it goes. It's all about survival there. Those straightaways, if somebody gets turned around, man, that track clogs up quick. So avoid the mess and try to come out somewhere in the top 10.
Good deal. All right. Well, we're going to get ready to wrap up the show here. But of course, before we wrap up, we'll do some predictions. So what I want to do, hopefully you guys can multitask. I want you guys to give me, when we'll go around, I'll call on you. Give me the 4 guys you think you'll make it to the final round. And then out of those 4 guys, who do you think will win the championship? If you have to, I'll be so kind as to put back up the chase grid there for you. Right there. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and start with Adam? Who do you think will make the final 4? And then who do you have going all the way?
Well, first of all, I just want to make sure that you guys realize that we're doing a couple of years ago point system. So it's only 3 points for a win. And these bonus points only carry to this first round. They do not carry throughout the entire chase. So after the next round, these bonus points won't carry over. But my final 4 for this year's 2017 chase for the championship at Homestead will probably be Caleb Eisenhower, Jacob Fyfe. I'm not going to pick myself because I don't pick myself ever, not even in DraftKings. I'll put Guillermo Alvarez as number 3, and then I'll go with my sleeper pick, Eric making it as the final of the 4. And my champion, I think after 2 years of frustration, the birthday boy who is no longer in his 20s will bring home his first IRL championship.
All right, good deal. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Yay, me. All right, Dewell, why don't you give your top 4 and who do you think will take it home?
All right, so it's a hard pick out of the 16 who's going to make it to Homestead. Okay, so there's probably a driver or 2 in here that's a given. We're probably all going to say Caleb. I don't know. That's a hard pick. I'll go Caleb, Adam, Cody if he has some luck on his side. Definitely for damn sure not picking Lance. Piss off. And I'm not the kind of guy to pick myself either. So I'll probably err on the side of caution and maybe Todd if his power returns.
Hopefully.
Hopefully it returns. So out of those 4, I just think Caleb's just an unstoppable force right now. He's got the momentum going into the chase, and he's going to carry it all the way into November.
All right, Lance, you're up. Top 4, and who do you think will win it all?
My top 4 is obviously going to be Caleb. He's going to be there without question, unless something horrible happens. Adam, Fyfe, and I believe Cody. I believe Cody will make it up there. And you're going to see those guys battle it out at Homestead. And I've seen Jacob race at Homestead. He's tough there. So I'm still going to go with Caleb. Screw you, Dick.
That was awesome.
Well, you've seen me race there, and you've seen Andrew kick my ass both years. That's probably what you took away from it. That was pretty funny. All right, all right, Hudson. Who are your top 4, and who do you think is going to win the championship?
Oh man, actually, I'm not going to pick Caleb. I have a feeling that he's going to pull the whole Joe Logano of last year card. He's got a hell of a momentum coming through, but I don't see him making it for some reason. I don't know. Now you've taken away my list. Appreciate that, buddy. I'm gonna say Adam. He's in the final four. Jacob, you're in the final four, and I'm gonna pick Dunn. I think Dunn makes it, and I think Dunn and Cody Smith are going to be. I think they're going to dark horse their way into it per se. And Fyfe, I do see you winning it all though. You always have a hell of a run at Homestead, and I think you take it this year.
Good deal. All right, and I guess that leaves me. All right, I have Caleb. Well, I'll turn this off. I can do my list. I have Caleb making it. I just think he's too strong. Quite frankly, he could pull what Wright's doing over in the Truck Series and show up for one race and win it and move on to the next round. I just think he's depending on who shows up as far as pro guys go. I think he has the capability of doing that. So I would say Caleb. I think Adam's going to make it to the final round. I think the improvement you've shown, Adam, between the last season and this season, whether it's you, the computer, or a combination thereof, I think you'll make it to the final round. I have Guillermo making it to the final round. I think he's consistent enough to do it and shows the speed at certain tracks, some of which, if my memory serves, are in the chase. And then I think I agree with most everybody who said Cody. I think Cody, I'm not one to pick myself. I'd like to think I have a chance, but I won't go there. But I think Cody makes the final round. I think we've all raced with him enough to know the caliber of driver he is, both in terms of speed and cleanliness. Kind of runs in the same breath as Guillermo in those terms. Out of those, honestly, I think it's between Caleb and Adam. And it's a really hard choice between those two, but I think Caleb will be the one to end up pulling it out. I think he's just too strong for everybody, really. And he's one of those guys that, and I don't know if this is aspiration for him or not. I know, Adam, you've talked about it in somewhat, and I think you'd fall into the same category, but he's one of those guys, if he really wanted to, he could go pro. So I would give the championship to Caleb, and I think he's, like I said, I think he's going to take it home. So with that being said, that's our show for tonight. Once again, hope Todd gets his power back and gets everything cleaned up there in Georgia. I want to thank our guests tonight. I want to thank Adam, Lance, James, and Michael for joining me. It was a fun show. Ran a lot longer than I thought it would, but that's what you do when you're having fun. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Next week, the Cup Series will be at the aforementioned Chicagoland Speedway for our first race of the Chase. So I hope you can join us and the American Sim Network for that. And then the Truck Series will be back in action to start their second round of the Chase at Las Vegas, where we have 8 drivers going for the championship. So we hope you can join us for both of those events, and then we'll be back for the Integrity Racing Show right after that to give you all the recap you need for that week's events. Once again, thank you for joining us, and have a good night.